Well, let's talk matters tea. The Kenya Tea Development Authority says some of its operations have been crippled following a recent raid at its head office in Nairobi. In a statement, the agency say the events commencing on April 16th disrupted the green leaf payment to farmers, procurement of fertilizer, and payment to suppliers and employee salaries. Detectives from the DCI Serious Crimes Unit on Friday raided the Kenya Tea Development Agency's head offices in Nairobi. The officers took control of the 7 floors that are used by the tea agency at Farmers Building on Moi Avenue. Well, on the issue of KTDA versus the government and the whole discussion about tea reforms in the country, I'm joined by Philip Keitani, who is the editor, Farming Desk right here at Standard Group. Philip, first of all, help us understand, what is the commotion between KTDA and what the government is trying to do?
Okay, as you've said, there is a fight between KTDA and the government, and both of them are saying they are fighting for the farmer. So what KTDA is saying, what we've been doing our work, and we don't see the reason why the government is trying to interfere. Because they say we are a private entity and the government has no authority to come and police us. But the government on the other side is saying KTDA over the years has exploited farmers, and today it has come up with reasons as to why they've taken the actions they've taken. One, they're saying they're accusing KTDA of mismanagement of farmers' proceedings. That is, from the time they buy the tea from the farmers' leaves to the time the tea gets to the auction. So the government accuses KTDA of everything that goes wrong in that value chain. They say there is a conflict of interest where directors of KTDA are also directors of so many other small companies that also does work who does business with KTDA, which is saying it's not supposed to happen like that because they use their influence to benefit themselves. Also on the part of the auction, they say there's a lot of insider trading, whereby KTDA, as this body that was mandated to sell the tea on behalf of the farmers, also has gone to become a buyer of the same tea. So they sell the tea, and the same KTDA buys the tea, which they go and sell it in another auction in Dubai. So the tea that is sold at the Mombasa auction, that is the money that will go to the farmer's pocket. And they make sure that the earnings the margins are small. And then they buy the tea with this other subsidiary of theirs, and then they go to sell it in Dubai, at the auction in Dubai, at a very huge margin, knowing very well the money they make from Dubai doesn't end up in the farmer's pocket, but in their pockets. And these are some of the issues the government is trying to say they need to come to a stop, and they need to come to a stop right now. Okay. And the only way that can stop is by holding elections from the factories all the way to the KTDA offices, which KTDA has already gone to court to oppose.
Definitely. Actually, I was coming to that particular point because you've pointed out the problems, these loopholes within KTDA as per the government's perspective. Now the reforms. What is the government, suggesting, and how will that impact farmers?
The thing that the government is saying now is the power should be with the farmers, not with KTDA. Because now they are saying KTDA has become this huge monopoly to a point that the farmers who are the main players in this sector are now not even anywhere in the picture. What KTDA decides, that is what goes. So they want to do elections from the grassroots, elect new directors for all those organizations that are affiliates of KTDA, and after that, now the farmers will be able to raise their voices, get new directors that when KTDA goes to the auction, these directors will be able to fight for them to get the best price and ensure that every coin that the farmers earn from the auction goes back to the farmers. Plus, again, KTDA also gets fertilizers for the farmers. One of the other issues that the government also raised is, why is it that the coffee that has been, the tea that has been, that's supposed to go to the auction, why is it going all the way to Mombasa, yet when the auction is on, they only use a catalog. The tea is not presented in its raw form in the auction. So why make the farmer incur all these costs of transporting the tea from wherever it was processed all the way to a warehouse in Mombasa? They are saying it's not making sense, because they are saying the people who own the transportation trucks that carries the tea to Mombasa are also players, are also directors of KTDA. The people who own some of the warehouses where this tea is stored in Mombasa, and the farmer is still charged for storing that tea, are also directors at KTDA. So this is the route that the government is saying need to be dealt with, and dealt with it now.
Just yesterday we saw a disruption in the Mombasa tea auction, which is put to a halt due to a raid. Why did this happen? And there's also the issue of government creating a parallel tea auction. Talk to us more about that.
The actions of the government, especially on the 16th of April, that is last Friday, is what the management of KTDA is saying is against the law. They already had an injunction from the High Court that stopped the government from implementing the new tea reforms, which is part of the elections that the government is helping farmers conduct in smaller tea factories out there in the country. But in the process of that, the auction was raided. The offices of the East African Free Trade Association was raided, and yesterday we didn't have an auction. And what the MD of the East African Free Trade Association said, a lot of its equipment was carried away, and since the auction is held online, it is an online auction, some of the equipment was carried away by the officers who had gone there, and they had not gotten back the equipment, so they could not carry on with the auction. But they had promised by today they would have fixed the situation, and the auction will be on. But the government is saying they are looking for information. I think they didn't have enough evidence of the things they're accusing KTDA of, and that's why they had to raid these offices to try and get some evidence of some sort. Again, the government also taken another step. They are in the process of setting up another tea auction at the Konza Metropolis, and ICT CS Musheru also said in principle it's supposed to start running from June. That is what they're saying, and they're saying this will help create a competition between now. We'll have two auctions in the country. So whichever auction, one will be run by the government and the other one will be run by the East African Free Trade Association, and whichever will be providing farmers with better prices, that is where now farmers will decide where to take their tea. You take it to the one to the Mombasa auction, or to the one they are proposing at Konza.
So it's basically giving the tea farmers an option on where to take their tea. Briefly, as we close this up, these recent interruptions that we've seen between KTDA and the government, so far, how have they affected tea farmers in the country? Down there, it has not. The farmers may not feel it now. If there's going to be any repercussions from what the government did, because farmers are still harvesting their tea, they are still taking it to the factories near to them. But the tea that had already been processed and taken to the auction, that was supposed to be sold yesterday, and we understand that Kenya makes close to 2 billion shillings every week from the operations of the auction. So if what happened yesterday, they will not be able to sell the tea that was supposed to be sold yesterday and today, because the auction operates 3 times, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So if they are not able to sell all the bulk that was to be sold this week, then I'm sure that will translate to either no pay for the farmers in the next week or so, because
there will be no money that will be going back to the factories, to the KTDA affiliate factories.
Okay, thank you very much. Philip Keitani, editor Farming Desk right here at Standard Group, giving us more information, what is going on in between the government reforms vis-a-vis the KTDA status quo, and that is the latest. But right now, let's move on to matters tourism. Tourism investors in Malindi want the government to continue effecting the strict rules